Hey, good morning, everybody. Buenos dias. Welcome to our weekly Facebook Live on Texas Latino conservatives. And as you can see on the screen, we have our new tagline. I'm going to take some time later to explain it because we have a really busy show today. But basically, we are now calling ourselves the original home of the political chimichanga. And most of you know what chimichanga means, but for those of you that don't, we'll explain it later. That'll be a subject for another program. We have a very busy day today. We have four great Texans that we are helping to get elected across the state of Texas. Our first guest is from House District 96, and it's David Koop. David is a fabulous Texan, a former mayor, and somebody's going to serve us well in the Texas House of Representatives. So, Andrea, ¿qué piensas tú?
Yo pienso que deberíamos nombrar a todos nuestros invitados
Adelante.
al principio. Tenemos a David Cook primero, luego tenemos a Angie Chen y luego Linda Koop. Y in the house we have Jim Wright, que él llegó esta mañana directamente de Corpus Christi para estar en nuestro programa y eso de verdad que es un honor. Así que bienvenidos a TLC Live como todos los miércoles, con Orlando Sánchez
y con Andrea
y la reina Andrea.
La reina. Yeah, so we're fortunate that we have a gentleman that's running for a statewide position, Jim Wright, for the Railroad Commission. A lot of people don't understand what the Railroad Commission does, so Jim is going to explain that to us in a little bit, and we are excited to have Jim towards the end of the program. But now we have David Cook on board, so I don't know if David is up. David, if you can hear us, why don't you give everybody across the state of Texas a good morning?
Buenos dias. How are y'all?
Buenos dias, David. He is in Dallas, and David is in his car right now. He was telling us he's in the car because he is in front of the polls.
Okay, great.
Shaking hands, talking to people. And David, so tell us a little bit about you, what position you're running for, and why we Latinos should vote for you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I appreciate the invitation to be with you all this morning, and I'm very happy to be part of Texas Latinos for Conservatives. It's certainly, and I'm going to just take a minute just to say thank you because I think this is such a missing part of the Republican, family, so to speak, and I think that the family values of Latinos matches very well with Republican values, and so I just want to say thank you all for creating this organization and being a part of what we need here in the great state of Texas. But my name is David Cook, and I'm running for Texas House District 96. I'm born and raised in the city of Mansfield, Texas, and I'm served as mayor here in Mansfield from 2008, and actually still serving as mayor because of the municipal and school board elections that were canceled in back in May due to COVID. And so I'm kind of a carryover and will serve until my successor is sworn in. And there are four people running for mayor in the same race that I'm in. So it's given me an opportunity to talk to the voters about what I've done as mayor and what I would like to do in Austin. But just a little bit about me. I grew up in Mansfield. As I said, I went to Stephen F. Austin State University out in Nacogdoches and got my undergraduate degree in public administration. I knew at a very young age, just as I was graduating high school, that I had two goals for my career. I wanted to be an attorney and I wanted to be a state legislator. I didn't think it would take me, better part of 27 years before I ran for it. But what I did is, as I finished Stephen F. Austin with my public administration degree, I worked really hard to get a job with State Senator Chris Harris. Senator Harris was an attorney and a state senator, obviously in the legislature, and he was a person that had the values and the skill set and experience that I was looking to obtain. So I went to work for the senator as I started law school at Texas Wesleyan University School of Law in the fall of 1993. And so I had an opportunity to work in the senator's law office, and then also down in Austin working as a legislative aide as well. So I have experience in both the law office and in the Capitol that has helped me get prepared for this position. But in my hometown in 2008, we had an opening in the mayor position, and several people suggested that I look at that. And I thought, sure, that's be a great opportunity to help develop the future of our city and the city that I grew up in, and maybe help my kids and their kids choose Mansfield as a destination when they start raising their families. But so I had an opportunity in 2008, got elected, and been mayor for the last 12 and a half years. And that's really given me an opportunity to learn and grow in in what government's about and just public services. In a local level, that's the level that's closest to the people. And so here in Mansfield, I'm very close to my constituents, and it certainly has given me a good open door to the voters. As you said earlier, I've been out here at the polls going on the second week now, and obviously everyone knows probably on this call that early voting goes through the 30th, which is next Friday. Election day on November 3rd. So I'll be out here every day, all day, shaking hands, and it's really helped me to have had that experience as mayor, to get out here and meet the voters, and been very, very happy with just the cross the board support, Latinos, African Americans, everybody seems to be giving a lot of support, and it's been very encouraging. But some of the things that I want to do in the legislature is I'd like to expand the CHIPS program so that all kids will have the opportunity to be insured that aren't on private plans, and that's an opportunity to take care of our future. The kids in our state and our communities now will be the future leaders of Texas in the future. And so I want to make sure that they're taken care of from a medical standpoint. I want to make sure that women have access to health care with regard specifically to mammograms and cancer screenings, and make sure that income is not a situation where that's a deterrent, or puts off something that if properly treated at an early stage will help women in their planning as far as their lives are concerned. And obviously property tax relief is part of what I'm working for, and specifically I'd like to make reforms to the political evaluation, property evaluation process. Right now, as you all probably know, if you own a home, they evaluate your property every year. They have to evaluate it as of January 1st, and that's done on an annual basis. And so even if the taxing authorities are keeping the rate at the same level, which we've done in Mansfield for over a decade at 71 cents per 100, but if your value of your home is going up year after year after year, then of course your property taxes are going up as well. And so really what I want to do is get out there and see if we can slow down how often they are evaluating the homes so that it would slow down the growth of the property taxes that we're paying. And so I think that's the best way to do it, is to limit how often they can do it, because it's very unfair that if someone appeals their property values in May and they settle with the appraisal district in August or September, then 3 months later when the new values comes out, they're going right back to the values that they were pushing before you reach the settlement. And there's a term under the law called res judicata, which means the thing has been decided. And so in most civil lawsuits, if you reach a settlement with someone, you can't come back 6 months later and say, hey, I want to change the deal. Well, that's basically what our property appraisal districts are doing. They're doing just that. They reach an agreement with you in August or September, and then 3 months later, here they are again, and they're going right back to the number that they had in the prior year, which they had made an agreement with you 3 months before that your house was worth X number of dollars. And so really want to make sure that we slow down how often they are appraising our homes. I think that will be a big win for our homeowners here in Texas. So that's
David, I hate to interrupt, but you bring up an excellent point. There's big issues facing the state of Texas, and I think access to health care is very critical for particularly the Latino community. I'm glad you made that first issue you brought up, because one of the crises in Texas is, as you may know, that our Latino family in the state of Texas, there's a crisis, which is juvenile diabetes. Unattended costs the state of Texas billions of dollars when we have to treat circulatory problems, heart disease, renal failure, blindness, all of the things associated with type 2 diabetes, which is highly preventable. So I'm excited that you're talking about healthcare, but I'm also excited that you recognize that our taxing system in the state of Texas has become sort of a scene of the Wizard of Oz, right? The state of Texas and the legislature will crow eloquently and tell you how they've cut the property taxes and given you property tax relief. And then the appraisal districts on the backside behind the screen are saying, oh, but your property is now worth $400,000. It was only worth $350,000 last year. So it's highly unfair. It's a back and forth. And I'm glad that you're going to go up there, roll up your sleeves and get to work to bring attention to this issue. I don't know, and I often say Texas is not California. And you obviously know, because your city has grown, that there's a movement from California and northeastern states to states like Texas, right? So it's a big attraction. Even though we have high property tax rates, we don't have an income tax in the state of Texas. We have to make sure that we keep it that way. So I'm excited that you're talking about that and that you're going to address that issue.
And also, David, you know, somebody's saying, all amigos would love to see an appraisal reform. So what do you can tell Jorge Martinez that he's making this comment?
Can you repeat that for me? You broke up just a little bit.
Yeah, Jorge Martinez, who's watching us live on Facebook, said, "Hola, amigos. We would like to see appraisal reform." So, can you be a little more specific to Jorge what your ideas are?
Yes, you bet. Yeah. So, and I cautiously reference the state of California because we don't look to California for much of anything in the great state of Texas. But I've been told by some former California residents that have migrated to our state that there was a proposition out in California where they basically, when you buy your house, the property appraisal amount is obviously the amount that you paid for your house, and it doesn't increase until either you sell the home or until you make modifications or improvements to the home. Well, I think that's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable answer. But I do think that the logic that's used under that particular proposition does make some sense. And so that's what I'm talking about is if the state would prevent the appraisal districts from appraising the property more than once every 5 years or once every 3 years. That way, if they establish the value in 2020, they can't come back and try to raise the value of your home until 2023 or 2025. And so that's obviously going to slow down, the values, the growth of the values. And so, our home prices that are soaring in North Texas specifically is great if you're selling a home, but if you're paying property taxes, it's not. And so that's what I want to do is make sure that we slow down how often that they can appraise your property so that you will be paying less in property taxes.
Excellent.
Yeah, we have also another comment from Maria Sanchez. She said, we need flat tax for everybody. And then home taxes are very high in Texas. Government owns our homes.
Yeah, we've said that often, right? You may pay off your house, but then you have to pay rent to the government on an annual basis.
Yeah, it's definitely part of it. And I've talked to a lot of voters, a lot of citizens here in North Texas, about that very issue, and so it's got to be addressed. And I do think that the state legislature made steps in the right direction in this last session, and I want to come alongside and be part of that solution and continue to work on it. But as you said earlier, the state does not have an income tax, and so if the property taxes go down, I mean, obviously there's going to be other sources of revenue, and sales taxes. A lot of people point to sales tax because sales tax is probably a more fair tax. It's more of a use tax, and so if you spend more, then you're going to be paying more in sales tax as opposed to someone that owns their home and paying a lot more in property taxes. And so there's different ideas out there, and I think we just need to, like you said, roll up our sleeves and make sure we look at all the different options from a revenue source standpoint and make sure we pick what's best for the state.
No question about it. And we're delighted that you're thinking down the line and thinking about property tax relief. I agree with you. We don't want to create additional streams of revenue for government, right? Because we have to fund government. There's no question about that. But let's look at a more a broader, fairer system of taxation other than the burden that is placed upon property owners in the state of Texas. So we really appreciate you being on the program, David. We're down to a couple of minutes, so we want to give you those 2 minutes and make your pitch to. And I'm glad that you started the show off by saying that the Republican family has been missing a big component, which is the conservative Tejanos in the great state of Texas. So really, thank you for recognizing that there is a big swath of Texans that beginning in 1836 and prior to that were fighting for Texas. Freedom and liberty and the right of the individual. And I appreciate you recognizing that. So go ahead with the last couple of minutes. They're all yours. Why should Texans vote for you?
And the Latino.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And it's been something I've been talking about for years. It's, the family values are there. I have so many Latinos in this community and that I either have worked with or done business with or, just come across in our community. And, it's a narrative that needs to be, in accordance with what will attract Latinos to the Republican Party, because like I said earlier, the values are just, they're there, family values and I love the respect of Latinos have for one another and especially for their family. And so I want to make the Republican Party a very welcoming organization for all Latinos to feel comfortable with and joining together and being part of the solution here. But I would, request that anybody that's out there listening, that whether you're in HD 96 or any other House district or any Senate seat, or all the ballots, everyone that's on the ballot right now, I just really implore you to vote all the way down the ballot. And hopefully all of you have heard that there's no longer straight ticket balloting, so you have to go vote down the ballot. But I just strongly encourage you to vote red. This election, this is you've heard this too, this is the most important election of our lifetimes, and I firmly believe that, with nothing more than what's happening at the Supreme Court and what the Democrats might do if they were in power. And so it's very, very critical at this juncture that we vote red, and then we get all of the Republicans in Texas elected, from our judiciary, from the White House to the courthouse to Main Street. We need to make sure that all those seats are filled with red Republicans. And we just want to invite you and encourage you to be a part of our family. And I want to say God bless you, and it's just an opportunity to serve each and every one of you, and God bless Texas. So thank you for the opportunity this morning.
Thank you, David. Te deseamos buena suerte. Thank you for being on the program. Go back out and shake some hands and get you some votes, and we'll see you in the Texas House of Representatives. And so next up,
David, gracias.
We have.
Yo ya voté. ¿Tú ya votaste?
Ya voté ayer.
Sí, mira, yo traje mi sticker.
Yeah.
Yo ya voté.
You voted. How long did it take you?
Like 10 minutes.
Took me 3 minutes.
Well, 10 minutes.
There was only 2 people in front of me.
I count 10 minutes from the moment that I get out of the car.
Yeah.
And then I went, and you know what?
Oh, and you had to powder your nose, and then you had to put your lipstick on.
And they check your temperature, and they give you the code. They also give you something for the finger.
Yes.
Yeah, they
a condom. It's okay to say
that.
It's
a finger condom.
Yeah.
It's a finger condom. So you vote with that finger condom, and they give you like a wipe.
Yes.
Yeah, alcohol wipe. So it is very safe.
Yeah.
And it was not many people, but I know at the beginning of the early voting, it was like lines of people, and I'm so glad about the turnout. People are really voting and early voting. I love it.
Yeah, and also now I want to say something, because this is important. We have a lot of conservative votes in the bank. That means that the liberal left, the people that want to turn our state socialist, right? They want government to control our lives, went out the first couple of days, stood in long, sweaty lines, and conservatives are now starting to come on out. We have a lot of conservative votes in the bank. Guys, you've got to get out and vote. You've got to get out and vote all the way from President of the United States down to your county and district clerk, your tax assessor collector, your constable, your sheriff, your county attorney. Those are the people that have an effect on your life. Vote all the way down the ballot. And as Andrea said, you don't have a choice anymore to vote straight ticket Republican or straight ticket Democrat. You've got to go hit every person. And so
the people that impact our life is like all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, the president doesn't pick up your garbage. Your local elected official does.
Yeah.
And when you have a problem at home, your sheriff is a local guy. It's not, the FBI that shows up to your house. So local elections matter. You got to vote all the way down. We have a lot of conservatives across the state of Texas that have not voted. And I'll make the prediction again that I've made on my personal Facebook page. Tejanos, Latinos in Texas are going to keep Texas red.
Yes. And talking about socialists and communists, our next guest, she ran away from that.
As we did as well.
As we did. So she ran away from that. And we want to introduce Angie Chen as our next guest. That's the picture and that's the website. Angie, how are you?
Hello. So
I love the energy. And I love your red. And I love your red.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Especially, I just came back from the early voting side.
Oh.
So my husband was catching up the first part of the Mayor Cook's conversation. And my husband told me, our beautiful female host, when you came to the state, you were at age of 25. Is that right?
Oh my God! Yes. You see, it's the Beauty and the Beast in this show.
Yeah, okay. And I came here at age of 24.
24. Oh, when I was 25, I came to this country, and I was, as your husband was telling you, I came to this country from Colombia. I didn't know any word in English, and I'm still learning. I only knew hamburger and French fries.
Yeah.
That way, I don't die of hunger. So
Hunger.
You see, I still learning, and my best teacher is here at Orlando. I teach him Spanish, and he teach me English.
Angie,
no problem.
Angie, let me say something because
Sure.
I love sort of sometimes sticking a little bit of my finger in the eye of the left. You know how the left likes to say that Republicans hate immigrants, right? That we're not a welcoming party, and we don't like immigrants. We don't like Mexicans, Colombians, Cubans, Chinese, Vietnamese. We hate them all, right? Well, look at this show. We have Angie, who's an immigrant. We have Andrea, who's an immigrant. We have Orlando, who's an immigrant. And what do we all have in common? We've run away from socialism. We've run away from communism.
Exactly.
And folks, we've seen this movie before. They promise you democratic socialism, but at the end of the day, they strip you of every one of your liberties, and government will tell you what to do. Angie, tell it the way it is.
Angie has an amazing story, Angie. I was reading your bio, and I'm like, wow, you have an incredible story. So we want to hear about you. How did you came to this country, and what's your story?
Before I say that, let me share this little story. Yesterday, I ran into a gentleman and his whole family. They came from Colombia, and he was so excited to talk to me for a long time. And when he left, he says, "Representative Button, may I have one of your signs so I can put it in my yard?" I said, "Please, definitely, I love that." I see my husband's right here. You remember that nice gentleman? Okay, so let me share with you my story. And but don't worry about your learning English and you get corrected every day. That happens to me, happens to me, and that's great. And that's why this country is so wonderful. People can correct each other in order to do the right thing and speak the right thing, but actually don't lose your charming accent, okay? And I find out, this is so funny. In the Texas House, people say, listen to Representative Button because when she speaks, you have to listen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, back to my story. My parents, when the communists took over China, my parents, because they are Christians and they believe in freedom, so they had to physically really escape and everything they have to left. They were only able to bring my grandma and also my aunt, who was a little girl at that time. Okay, so when they came to Taiwan, they were very, very poor. And later on, they raised four. Well, actually, my oldest brother died of meningitis because at that time it was so poor, the environment was so bad. So 5 of us grew up in a very, very humble background. We lived, including my grandma, in a little hut made of bamboo and mud. Wow! And my mom cooked on the street with a little, kind of like a little, made out of brick and mud. And people talk about, you don't have a fancy marble bathroom or whatever. We didn't have a bathroom or a kitchen. So I don't want to, it's getting to the lunchtime, so I don't want to ruin your appetite talking about how we handle the, since we didn't have a bathroom. Okay. But anyway, each of us grew up with college education and the food of compassion and love to other people. And I tell you what, because we believe in freedom, and freedom is now free, and we believe the great Lord will take care of us. And we at the age of 24, I came to Texas and then got into the graduate school of UT at Dallas and got to study And the people say, Angie Chen Button, how do they eat anything? They didn't know that we didn't have money. See, my lunch and my supper are all those cup noodle soup.
Oh, wow.
Okay? But I was skinny and beautiful. Okay.
Oh, you're still beautiful.
Oh, thank you. But I got the freedom to learn, and then I stay with a wonderful host family. They love me, and they treat me like one of their own. And then I even met my love in life. That's my husband, Mr. Darcy Button.
Hey, husband.
Yeah, he was my classmate in graduate school.
Oh my
And
God.
one of the main reasons I decided to run for a public office because this country, this community gave me the opportunity to pursue everything I have today. And I want to give it back. And I want to, not that I say I'm a model immigrant, I just want to show my gratitude, show my love to this country.
Yes.
And like I tell many people, including the people at the voting place, I say, hey, listen, people criticize, constructive criticism is good. We can always improve. And that's why we have such a wonderful democratic country, because we can always open our mouths and make suggestions to the system. And in a lot of countries, and that would be you'll be gone, okay? But then being being a citizen and thank this country and full of gratitude and compassion for other people. That's why we gotta be. And why I'm a conservative Republican, people ask me, because I want to be the boss. In this country, we don't need to listen to the big bosses or whatever. In a lot of countries, and they tell you what to do, okay? And in this country, we don't. We tell our government what to do. And also, I said this to many people. And you saw the story, you heard the stories about that. Hey, listen, the government give us so much money to this, give them so much money to that. It's not the government giving you the money. It's you, the taxpayers' money. The government doesn't have the right to tell you what you need to do. And once again, some people say, oh, government create jobs. That's not true. Small business creates most of the jobs in our country, and small business are the top heroes in this pandemic environment. They continue to strive. Of course, we need to regain our economy in a safer environment, and that's what our governor, Greg Abbott, is doing, along with a lot of people from the community, to make sure that happens. So if you think my funny English hasn't charmed you, and then I can talk more, okay?
Oh,
Angie, we'd love for you to talk more. Unfortunately, we have a packed program today. So look, we want to wish you the very best. I love your enthusiasm. And once again, let me tell all my friends that are watching on the left, because we have a lot of friends on the left that are watching. We have a lot of Democrats that have lived in the South for decades, and the Democratic Party has promised a lot and delivered very little. You guys charge us, you allege that we're the party that's anti-immigrant. Let me tell you, Angie's an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. Andrea's an immigrant. I served on the Houston City Council with a woman that was elected of Chinese descent, Martha J. Wong, an immigrant.
Oh,
Angie,
my dear friend, my
girlfriend, Martha Wong, another immigrant, conservative Republican. Let me tell you, don't listen to the left. Listen to these immigrants that are conservatives, that are fighting for the conservative values, which are, as Angie said, we want to be the bosses of our own life. We don't need somebody in the Politburo in Washington, D.C., telling us what school to go to, what profession we're going to practice the rest of our lives, and telling us how many beans and rice, bags of beans and rice we can buy. And by the way, what kind of energy you have to use to power your house and your car. We love our liberty. We love our freedom. We're responsible. We want to take care of the environment. We want to keep our taxes low, but we're for liberty. And so, Angie, I am excited that you're here. We love your accent. We love you. We love Martha Wong. We love all of the immigrants. We love all the Texans that value our Constitution. And I want to wish you the very, very best. Thank you for taking time to be with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm getting ready to have my bowl of cereal and back to the early voting site to talk to more voters. And thank you for having me. I am just so excited and appreciative.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
Angie, thank you
Bye,
so
Angie.
much. Bye-bye, Angie, and good
Adios.
luck.
Adios.
Adios.
Adios. Felicidades y buena suerte.
Gracias. Oh, I love that woman. Oh my God. I love her. I love her so much.
Okay, I gotta do this before I take off. This is my love symbol, okay?
Oh,
And that's how I feel about the Latino families.
oh.
You and I, we share the same value. We love our family. We love our community. We work hard.
Yes.
And we want to raise a wonderful, wonderful family and value our freedom and democracy. And love from Angie Chen Button.
All right, Angie, good luck. All right, who's up next?
Angie, thank you so much. Well, as Angie was talking about the small business, so we have a successful small business woman, and she is Linda Koop. And here we are. We have her website, and Linda is running for House District 102. Linda, welcome to TLC Live. I love the red color. I have red also for you guys. And women energy.
Hey, Linda, this is how you pronounce your name in Spanish.
Yes.
Linda. And do you know what that means in Spanish?
I think it means pretty.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So welcome, Linda.
Well, I don't know that I look so great today. I've been out at the polls all morning long since 7 o'clock this morning. It's a little drizzly, so but I ran back home so I could do this, and y'all have great energy. Andrea, thank you so much too. Y'all are just awesome, and we're just happy to be here with the conservative Latinos. Just a little bit about myself. I am part of 7 generations of Texans. So we have been in Texas a very long time. My father's relatives immigrated from Eastern Europe, and in the height of the Great Depression, my grandfather started National Shoes, which was a small, locally owned business right in the heart of downtown Dallas. And through really hard work, that shoe store grew into about 5 or 6 shoe stores just in the Metroplex area. And all of our family owns those shoe stores. And as a matter of fact, it's closed down now, but as a matter of fact, it was the oldest family-owned business in downtown Dallas for a number of years. So we are very proud of that. We are small business entrepreneurs. We hire people and know how difficult it is for small businesses to make a small business work. And we know that our workers are just really hardworking folks that deserve a good wage, and they want to raise their families as well. All those family values that conservatives have translates to the Latino community. So we are pleased to be able to talk with you today, to share our stories, and just encourage you to vote for us. We just heard from Angie, and my joke is always, you don't want to go after Angie Chen Button because she's such a good speaker.
I know, she was amazing as you are too. So tell us about, a small business. I was reading your bio, and you're a successful small business woman. And, that's what she was saying. We want to be our own bosses. So what we can tell the community that you will do for a small business?
Right. So here's the issue with small businesses. when you overregulate, and I may back up just one couple of seconds here. I was on the Dallas City Council for 8 years before I entered the legislature. And on the Dallas City Council, they're in charge of all sorts of things, but a lot of it has to do with businesses and code enforcement and that kind of thing. When you put a lot of regulatory framework around small businesses, they have a difficult time thriving. And I know so many Latinos, obviously, they feel the same way. They are small business entrepreneurs. It's difficult to make it work. There's no question about that. Your entire family is involved. Your employees become your family. And if we can keep our regulatory environment down, not only with the city, but also with the state, it helps improve the climate for small businesses. Remember, about 50% of the jobs that are created in Texas are created actually by small businesses. So, we're just constantly looking at the regulatory environment at the state and making sure that our state doesn't overregulate, especially on small businesses, like California has. One of the reasons that a lot of Californians are moving here is because as small business owners, it's difficult in that environment.
Excellent. Well, you have a great crop of candidates running for the Texas House of Representatives.
We do.
I'm sure you're familiar with Angie, who is just on there, but also we have a fellow immigrant running in the Dallas area, Luisa del Rosal,
Yes.
who is quite a pistol up there, and we're going to wish her well. But we just love the fact that women are involved, strong business women are involved, and they understand the issues. We appreciate your dedication. I served on the Houston City Council as well, so we understand the issues about which you talk about, which is regulation, over taxation, the big burden of government. Here we have a very large Latino population, and Latinos start off by owning taco trucks or selling ice cream. As when we grew up, we had ice cream vendors in our neighborhood. Well, the same thing happens in the Latino community. We call them paleteros, right? They're selling ice cream on wooden sticks. And the amount of regulation that these poor people have to go through, for God's sake, just almost makes it prohibitive for immigrants to get permits and to pay the fees and to get into the business. And I'm just delighted that you want to make sure that there's not a barrier to industry for entrepreneurs in Texas.
Yes, and also I want to talk just a little bit about what may happen now as soon as the pandemic is over. And that is that when I was on the Dallas City Council, and I'm sure you realize this too when you're on the Houston Council, it was about a year lag time from the time that the Great Recession in 2008 hit. It was about a year lag time, and when really and truly things began to slow down. So the one thing that we can do right now is to think about how are we going to get people back to work, especially in difficult economic times. We know this is difficult right now. We know it's going to get harder here for about the next year or so. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that we put money into our infrastructure. We know construction jobs really add a lot to the economy, not only jobs at all different levels, but also add jobs into restaurants and small businesses and that kind of thing. So we need to begin to think about that, how we can really make the economy roar back. And fortunately in Texas, our economy has always been strong for the last many, many years. And I think we're probably well positioned to get ourselves back with a lot better employment numbers than we have recently seen.
Yeah, there's no doubt Texas is going to come back strong, and we love everybody that is moving to Texas and is seeking freedom and opportunities. As we say, we love our friends from California, but don't California our Texas, okay?
Yeah,
let us keep Texas, Texas. We welcome you with open arms, and we hope that you succeed in your entrepreneurial pursuits in the state of Texas. But you folks from the East Coast and the West Coast, let us continue to be Texans.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We are Texans, and I would tell you that as soon as you come here, you become a Texan, because we love people. There's no question about that. People here, they come here and they go, gosh, y'all are really friendly. And we say, yeah, we really are. We really enjoy you coming.
Absolutely, Linda. I mean, you're absolutely correct. And that's why I wanted to take a moment to talk about how welcoming Texas is. I was the first immigrant ever elected to the Houston City Council. I was the first immigrant ever elected countywide outside of the judiciary in Harris County. Luisa del Rosal, your colleague up there, is running for state rep. She is an immigrant. Martha Wong, who was the immigrant from communist China, was my colleague on the Houston City Council who went to the Texas legislature, an immigrant. And of course, we just had Angie Button on, another immigrant. And I want to reinforce this because people are watching us saying that we're the party that hates immigrants. No, we don't. We love liberty. We love freedom. And we love anybody that advocates for our Constitution and our Texas way of life. We are the party of immigrants. And I want to stress that again. We are the party of immigrants.
We have a great lineup here in Dallas County, don't we, of women, professional women, people who have been who are immigrants. We have just a dynamic team. We're looking forward to winning up and down the ballot, and we just encourage all your folks, if they live up here in North Texas area, to vote for us. And we're a team up here, and we're proud to welcome everyone. We want everyone to feel welcome.
Well, great, Linda. You have any questions? We're going to give her the last few minutes.
Yeah, we're going to get, and also, encourage women. Women are not only Latinos, but also women. We are the ones that are opening more small business than any other people.
Yeah, Andrea, and I'm glad you bring that up because, we're reading a lot of reports how women and suburban women are, quote unquote, leaving the Republican Party. Folks, we do these programs so that you can hear from people like us who have experienced democratic socialism, so that you know that socialism will deprive not only you, but your children, more importantly, of the future that you want for them. There will be no rosy future for your children when there are no police officers to come protect your neighborhood and your children's neighborhood, when there is no entrepreneurial opportunity for your children. How would you like your children dependent on the government, like Cubans, like Venezuelans, like the people in Vietnam, like the people in China? I know that China is dabbling a little bit with entrepreneurship, but it is still a Politburo that controls every aspect of Chinese life. They tell you how many children to have. They tell you where to go to school. They tell you where to work. That's not what we want here. So for women that are thinking that socialism sounds good, that everybody's going to have great health care, that is not true. We come from countries where there's hardly any health care. They have great promises. Unfortunately, folks, when they run out of other people's money, which is what Linda was just talking about, and Angie prior to that, it's over. You will live the life that people in Venezuela are living. They're dumpster diving right now for food. This is one of the richest oil countries in the world. They are dumpster diving. Children are dying because there's no health care. Children are dying because there's no medicines. We don't want that in our country. We are a law-abiding, constitutional republic. We love it. We want to keep it that way. We are the party of immigrants, and we are going to save Texas and this nation.
Woo! So, Linda, so you have the last word to tell people and the community and the people that are watching us why we should vote for you, and tell something to the Latino community too.
Well, like I said, we just welcome everybody. We welcome everybody into our tent. We want immigrants in our tent. We want the Latinos in our tent. We are looking forward to just having terrific candidates win elections. And I will just say, and we talk about healthcare, I've passed healthcare bills, I've passed education bills, and those are the things I'm passionate about. And I'm going to keep working. If I'm elected to the Texas House, I'm going to keep working towards those goals and making sure that we throw out the welcome mat for everybody, and welcome them in to a tent that is has good educational values and good healthcare as well. So thank you for having us today. This has been a fun program. Y'all have a lot of energy going on, and I'm going to take that right back out to the polls here in just a second.
That's right, Linda. Grab your umbrella and go out and shake hands and win some votes. And
felicitaciones y mucha suerte, Linda.
Mucha suerte, Linda.
Linda,
Gracias.
beautiful.
Linda. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, up next, we are delighted that we have a gentleman that has flown all the way here to Houston from down in South Texas, near Nueces County. He is a fifth generation Texan. And, you know, we talk a lot about the bottom of the ticket, how important it is to go all the way down to the bottom of the ticket. The next guest, Jim Wright, running for the Texas Railroad Commission, is towards the top of the ticket. And a lot of people in Texas they scratch their heads going, Railroad Commission? Well, why do we need a commission to supervise and oversee railroads? Well, that's how originally it started. But the Railroad Commission is an important agency in the state of Texas. So first of all, let's welcome a good man from South Texas, Jim Wright, running for Texas Railroad Commission. Jim, thank you for coming down and being with us.
Thank you both for having me here today, and thanks to Texas Latino Conservatives for listening to what I have to say.
¿Sabes cómo se dice el comisionado de rieles y ferrocarriles? Así se dice en
R con
español.
R, cigarro.
R con R barril.
barril.
Rápido ruedan los carros cargados de azúcar al ferrocarril.
All right, that's how you practice rolling your R's. Look, let me tell you, Jim is not a politician, first of all. So Jim, this is his first time to run for public office.
Yeah.
Jim was a successful fifth generation entrepreneur in Texas. They live on a ranch outside of Corpus Christi. But, you know, it's always amazing to me how a successful business person would give up, the lifestyle that they enjoy to go work in the Texas legislature or in a commission in Texas that regulates probably the most important industry in Texas, and that is the energy industry. So, Jim, talk to us a little bit about, first of all, you know, for those that are watching us that don't know what the Railroad Commission does, tell us what it does and why it's so important in Texas.
You know, Carlos, it amazes me as I'll go around Texas and I talk to different groups. And one of the first questions I ask is, who in this room knows what the Railroad Commission is? And I'm amazed. I get very few hands that are raised. Mm-hmm. You know, the Railroad Commission is the oldest agency existing in Texas today. It governs our natural resources, which include oil and gas, uranium and coal, and we also govern the pipelines that run inside the state of Texas here. It is the agency that really is the foundation of our economy here in Texas. Without oil and gas, we would not be what we are today. You know, as you've seen in paper and media, we're under large attack by extreme leftists to get rid of fossil fuels. It's imperative that Texas recognize the Railroad Commission and the industry, and we uphold those values so that our economy stays strong here in Texas.
So, Jim, you're not a politician. This is the first time that you run for office. What made you run for this position?
You know, I've been fortunate enough. I graduated high school. I had the opportunity to go to college under 3 scholarships, and my family had fallen on hard times. And there was a hazardous waste facility that built just down the road from where we lived. And so, you know, in looking at my mom and dad's face, I knew I needed help. I went down and asked the guy for a job, and he gave me a job, and that started my experience on the environmental side. In '91, I started the first of my 4 businesses. Today, I still own those businesses, and we do consulting services for most of the energy industry. And we do a lot of other services combined with that. But it was that whenever we discovered the great shale, and shale being a discovery where we've now found that we have a plethora of oil and gas, and we can compete in all kinds of markets now with that discovery. It was in that actually my company migrated its revenue toward the oil and gas industry. And in the consulting side, we were having issues at the Railroad Commission where rules weren't really able to fit into a circle. You know, you can't take a square and put it into a circle. Your geology is different in Amarillo, Texas than it is in South Texas. Right. So when you're trying to fit one rule that covers plugging as an example of abandoned wells, it doesn't really work good in Amarillo versus what we have in South Texas. So we were getting to where the impediments that of applying these rules fairly quickly so that we didn't impede our economic growth was really becoming an issue. So I created a task force, and I went up to the railroad commissioners, particularly one, and I asked them, I said, would you mind if we volunteer to come in and write guidance documents so that we can take care of these issues, so that we stop impeding the progress of what this great oil and gas has brought for Texas. And they did. We weren't really welcomed to write those guidance documents. So the task force that I created said, Jim, would you consider running for the Railroad Commission? And that's what brought me to this race. You know, I've been in Texas all my life, as you said. This industry has put food on my table. This industry puts food on most people's table in Texas. Yeah. And I'm passionate about Texas. Texas is the greatest place on earth to me.
Totally.
And I think it's imperative that we have somebody that's going to uphold what our economy is, and quit allowing the far left to attack us and tell us all the bad things we're doing. We need a person that knows the industry, that can tell the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, it's very interesting because most people, and particularly in urban areas like Houston, will go to the gas station. They'll pump $1.62, which is about the average price, $1.70 for unleaded gasoline, and most of that is taxes. So that's how cheap gasoline is, right? Mm-hmm. We remember the days in California where gasoline was over $5 a gallon.
Yeah.
In Texas, it's about $1.65, $1.70. Most of that is taxes. But most people in the urban area pump gasoline and have no clue what it takes to get that gasoline to the refineries like Lyondell and Exxon and Shell down here off of Highway 225 in Houston, the Pasadena area. And you mentioned the transmission company. People don't understand that the pipelines in Texas are so important because we're getting a lot of the natural gas and oil out of what we call now the Permian Basin.
That's correct.
Because the Permian Basin, I think, and I'm not a geologist, I'm not in the oil patch, but from what I remember in the 80s, you remember Jimmy Carter told us, oh my God, you got to turn off the lights. You got to quit running your automobile. You can only get gas every other day based on the last digit of your license plate. Oh, by the way, you're going to pay $4 a gallon back in those days. And put on your sweater because you're not going to have enough heat in your house. And then in the Permian Basin, I think with a lot of technology developed by a Houstonian by the name of George Mitchell, created this technology called fracking. And I don't want to get into that, but fracking is a technology that allows us to reap all the benefits of the resources that we have underground in Texas and bring them to us in a very cheap manner. The problem is there's so much natural gas in the Permian Basin out in the high plains of Texas and on the eastern side of New Mexico that we can't bring it in. There's not enough pipeline capacity. If we could bring it in and create more jobs in the Panhandle and the high plains of Texas, we can export that natural gas all over the world. The Chinese are standing in line to buy our natural gas. Am I right or wrong?
You are correct. Chinese, the Indian people, India. I mean, we have a huge market. We need to do better on logistics, and logistics starts with pipelines.
That's yeah, correct. And not only that, but for those of you that don't follow this industry, because again, you know, in Houston and in Texas, you know, most of us have the benefit of natural gas. So our furnaces are fired up by natural gas. We do our cooking with natural gas. Some of us now have generators in the event of hurricanes that are run by natural gas. So when a hurricane hits, our generators will come on. And we have lights, refrigerator, and the whole air conditioning system will run on natural gas. And so the problem is getting that, you know, there's not enough capacity to get all that energy to the Gulf Coast. There is the potential of creating what we call LNG plants, liquefied natural gas industry, where we take that gas, we compress it, we liquefy it, and we can move mass amounts of natural gas on ships across the world, right?
That is correct.
And so it's an amazing technology. And I think every Texan should be excited. We lead the world in energy production. We are now a net exporter of energy. And there's 3 people on that commission, right, Jim?
There is. There's 3 people that serve the commission, and we serve as a board. So everything that we do takes a vote, a majority of the vote, to make an action happen, and that's what's required.
So that's how important the Texas Railroad Commission is. 3 people will basically guide the future of Texas energy. Am I correct, Jim?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we have, you know, again, Jim is not a politician. Jim is a good Christian man. By the way, a Lutheran, as I understand.
That's correct.
My wife is Lutheran. I
started out as Catholic, migrated to Lutheran.
Yeah.
But I spent 9 years of my life going to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
And so I know
Yeah.
Catholicism very well.
Yeah. Well.
So Jim, so what is your plan if you win this election?
I think it's hugely important that we recognize what the shale has put us into and what the shale does for us in the marketplace. You talked about it earlier. Back in the 80s, we were telling people that we don't have enough natural resource to service our domestic needs, which forced us to go abroad. And we invited that abroad oil in. We tooled our refineries to run that heavier crude. And today we have an issue with that because regulation doesn't really allow for more refineries to come online. I think it's imperative that we look at that regulation. We invite competition into that arena to run more of our domestic crude. And I think we need to look at partnering with countries like Canada and Mexico to make a blend that the current refineries can process instead of inviting our competition over here. What we've seen earlier in this year, what Saudi did to us was basically said, we're not selling enough oil. We're going to sell our oil at $35 less a barrel than you're buying it for today. That's what caused the collapse.
Correct.
We don't do a good job at planning and knowing what our competition is. And it's going to take logistics and planning to go out and compete just like you would do with a normal business. Today people talk about the flaring and how bad flaring is in the Permian Basin. And I don't necessarily agree with that. When you look at what the reality is, in all the production we have today throughout Texas, we only flare 0.47% of that gas that's produced.
But not only that, Jim. I mean, the left talks about build no more pipelines. Stop.
Well, they talk about renewable energy,
exactly.
and I just want to quickly tell people here's the truth about renewable energy. If we said, okay, let's abolish fossil fuel for any of our energy needs, and let's go strictly to renewable energy, we'd have to take up 75% of Texas's real estate to put that infrastructure in. So tell me what would be more harmful to our environment, renewable energy or fossil fuel?
No question. Everybody's wrapped around the axle, and I really appreciate Teslas and electric automobiles, but you got to plug those in. And where does that energy come? Well, it comes from natural gas or coal. That's
your reliable source today through technology is natural gas and coal.
Yeah.
And natural gas is really come on. It's become a thing. I think when I talk about marketing, natural gas needs a better market. We've got the LNG plants. We need to partner with countries like Mexico and Canada to promote that. We also need to look at, what we used to run cars on propane. Why don't we start looking at running cars on natural gas to compete with the battery operated cars, because actually it's a cleaner fuel.
Well, I know, for example, there's a Houstonian who owns a big beer distributing company, a fellow by the name of John Now. And I know John was a real leader in moving his delivery trucks to natural gas. And so, there's a lot of good clean burning fuels that we can use. But the important thing that you need to know is that 3 people regulate the energy industry in Texas. It's transmission, the regulations regarding drilling and fracking. And this is one of the gentlemen that's going to be in the Texas Railroad Commission. We wanted to introduce him to you because we feel it's such an important position in Texas that we wanted you to get to know Jim, who he was personally. He's not a politician. He's a man that is been on a ranch, 5th generation Texan, who's donating his time to you to keep energy in Texas flowing, to keep it clean, and to keep it abundant, and to make Texas people don't even realize that the natural resources we pump from underneath the ground, oil and natural gas, are funding our higher education in Texas. Is that right, Jim?
That's correct. As a comparison, in 2019, oil and gas put $16.4 billion into our tax base. You compare that to renewable energy in 2019, which puts $285 million. I mean, which one would you rather have? Again, the oil and gas industry is in severe attack today by the Green New Deal. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make sure that we state the facts on what fossil fuels benefits are for us here in Texas, and especially from the Latino community. I think the Latinos get that fact better than anybody else, because they work in the oil field. We work in the oil field, and it supplies millions of jobs when you look into it. It alone that lifestyle, that money that's being paid to those workers are what fuel our restaurants, our motels, our car sales, everything pretty much here in Texas. And we have to uphold that. That is what Texas is built on. That is our foundation. And if we let those other people in office, we're going to abolish the fossil fuel, and we're going to abolish it. Here's another factor on renewable energy, and people need to research it. It's under Rule 242 of our tax code, which allows losses to be bought by larger corporations. Well, it's a true known fact. Wind and solar today do not create profit. They create huge losses, which are sold to large corporations.
And are highly subsidized.
That's correct. And they are highly subsidized. You are correct.
Yeah.
So, if you're going out to vote today, I want people to know that I'm here to fight for our economy here in Texas. I'm here to continue what lifestyle we've created here in Texas. And oil and gas is that foundation. I'm the fighter.
Well, thanks, Jim. We appreciate you coming down. And, one quick question. Last night, I had a series of inquiries made of me because, I have a house down in South Texas, way out west in Kinney County.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard a report that Latinos, Tejanos down in South Texas, and some Democrats were voting for President Trump and in large numbers. And so I made a few phone calls. I called the constable that I know in Valverde County, and he said that is the case. And then I called the chairman of the Republican Party down in Maverick County, and he says, yes, that is true. And then I called my friend Mayra Flores down in Hidalgo County and asked her if that was true. She confirmed that. She says she's been block walking, knocking doors, and talking to Democrats, and they're voting conservative. So,
in Latino, the background of Latino Democrats is pretty similar to mine. My parents were Democrat, and they did not like Republican. But today, what you're seeing is Democrats are not what Democrats used to be. But I can tell you, Latinos hold that value still, what Democrats were back then, and it's a custom of what they've grown up with. But their values are still there. Their values are conservative.
Jim, you bring up an interesting point, because I remember when George W. Bush ran against Ann Richards, it was the massive switch from the East Texas Democrats to conservatism.
That is
They
correct.
abandoned the liberal left wing of the party and voted conservative, and that helped George Bush get elected. I think that big second wave of conservatism in the state of Texas is going to be those Latinos.
I agree with you 100%.
I predicted on Facebook, on my personal page, that Latinos in Texas are going to keep Texas red. And I'm telling you, they talk about a blue wave. I think if as Mr. Cook said earlier, if that's been the missing component in the Republican Party, is our Latino family. If they start coming over, I'm telling you, this state is going to stay red and conservative for the foreseeable future, not only for us, but our children.
I couldn't agree with you more. I will say, growing up in South Texas, I've grown up in the Latino community. I'm embedded in that. And so, I know where their values are. And as I talk to Democrats, even in South Texas today, it's huge that we've seen a lot of value coming from the Latino community on both sides of the line.
It's funny you say that. A lot of people don't understand the interconnectedness between the Anglo and Latino Tejano community that have been in Texas as many generations as your family, because we have Tejanos, we have Mexican Americans that are fifth and sixth generation Tejanos, Texans, and I'm telling you that the values are the same.
So, I agree with you.
Well, love Texas. I love that you love Texas. As an immigrant that I am, I came to this country and I could go to any state or anywhere, but I came to Texas. Texas is my home. This country, I love this country for all the opportunities that it gave us, to me, to my family, and now to my children that they're born here. But Texas definitely has something that once you drink the water here, you just stay here.
That's exactly right. I've been all over the nation. Heck, I've been all over the world, and Texas is the best place there is. So.
Well, Jim, thanks for coming out. I know you got a busy day. We're going to introduce you to a couple folks here in Houston, but we want to wish you the very best. We're going to try to encourage our conservative Latinos to get out and support you.
Thank you.
Wish you the very best and keep us up to date with what's going on.
Thank you both very much.
Well, love Texas, and because we love Texas, we need to go and vote. And remember, this presidential election is very exciting for everybody, but you need to go down to the ballot way you vote for every single person. And Jim, you are like right there when you know.
I should be about number 4 on your ballot at the top. But like you said, it's very important that we go all the way to the ballot to the bottom of that ballot, because without that support on the bottom, it's hard for me to do my job at the top.
All right, great. Well, we've got hopefully some good news for you. I think starting next week, we're going to have a new studio. So we're trying to eliminate a lot of the technical issues that we're having. You know, I always say it's amazing that we pull this off every week because, you know, we have laptops, we have cameras, we have lights, we have microphones, and we rely on the internet. And so it's amazing that we pull it off every week. So next week, we're going to up the professionalism of the program, thanks to
we're getting better and better.
Yeah,
you should see how we started. We started with a phone, with a microphone. Well, yeah, but you know, like no lights or nothing. I mean, we're very organic, and little by little, we're getting better.
I'll tell you, you guys have done a wonderful job today. I've been in some interviews that were a lot worse than this, so you've made lots of progress.
So she's a former Univision anchor, Jim.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
So she's got the professionalism
Yeah.
to make sure that you get a giant studio.
She's
here,
got the
Carlos.
professionalism. She's got the looks, although I don't want to tell her that too much.
The beauty and the beast.
Her head will start to cover the flag.
Well, she's surrounded by 2 beasts today.
But it's smart, guys. You know, we women, we look at your brains, not the looks. So
that's what I hope.
Yeah. So we love the brain, and we love a man with power. So definitely, that's what it comes. The beauty on you guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week, hopefully from our new studios. Don't forget, go out and vote. We have a lot of votes in the bank. A lot of conservatives need to go out and vote. Take advantage of this opportunity. We have a long early voting period. We have a lot of great conservative candidates, many of whom are immigrants just like us. And, you know, we are the party of immigrants. We are the party of conservatism. We are the party of the future. Go out and vote your values. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Gracias, Jim.
Thank you.
Y gracias a todos ustedes. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles, como dice Orlando, pues con favor de Dios, en un estudio más profesional.
Perfecto.
Nos vemos. Chao, chao.